Press One podcast. I am your host, Steve Clemonds, along with my beautiful, amazing co-host, the one and only, the Shannon Clemonds.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, living the dream. It's Friday. It's beautiful outside. As you guys all know, we record this opening segment of the previous or the future episodes on Fridays. So we have the weekend ahead of us, which we'll get to in a second. But it's finally nice outside.
I know, it's so nice. And I honestly haven't seen you since we woke up this morning. So hi.
Well, and then even at that point, you were very in your own world. So
that's usual. Yeah. And then it was both like we both were off to work and all the joys of the world came at us so fast. And now here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get started, remember, Press One is brought to you each and every week by my friends over at Rise Technology Advisors, Palm & Oak Co., and Obvious Shirts. Huge shout out to Joe over at Obvious Shirts. Just had his first child about 2 weeks ago, so we wanted to shout that out. That's awesome. Congratulations to the Johnsons over there. That's phenomenal.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we get started, please follow us on all of our socials, LinkedIn at Press One Podcast, Instagram at Press1_pod, and you know what to do on the YouTube. Smash that like button and subscribe to see our amazing weekly content on our YouTube channel at Press One Pod.
If you could just go ahead and make sure you do that from now on, that would be great.
All right, I'm going to do a quick teaser before we get into the weekly meeting. We have some very big show news coming up for some future episodes. We are working on finalizing some details, but wow, very exciting stuff. I was kind of shocked to see a message this week that came in, but that's all I'll say for now, but more to come. Details are being finalized.
Yeah, so many fun things. You're throwing me off today. You're like, first you started talking and then you did your intro. Like
I know.
You're doing a different order today.
It just, it's Friday. It's fun Friday.
It's always Friday when we record, but this Friday you're doing things differently.
Yeah, I try to keep you on your toes. Also, I've heard some feedback from last week's episode. I've initiated the SG yawn counter. So it's the official format that I'll be using to count your yawns during the segment. I'm here for it. I feel significantly better this week than I did last week. So the problem is, though, once you start talking about a yawn, it's almost impossible not to yawn. So now I feel like you completely did me in here. Like, that's not nice. I mean, sorry.
No, I'm good. I'm drinking my greens and my collagen. Like, I'm still on my morning upswing. So I feel like we'll be fine.
Morning upswing. I like it. All right. How about we get into our weekly meeting? It's a big week. It's So on Sunday is Mother's Day. So happy Mother's. Be the first to tell you, Shannon, happy Mother's Day. You are absolutely in your mom era and crushing it, killing it, doing all the things. Best mom I know out there, but also happy Mother's Day to all the other moms out there.
Absolutely. I know when this airs, it will already have been Mother's Day. So I hope everyone had a great Mother's Day. I know at least here in the Chicago area, it's supposed to be beautiful out. I feel like for everyone, this is everyone's first weekend of like the decks and the patios being open. So I'm just hoping the deck and sun and an Aperol Spritz are in my Mother's Day future. So is that planned? Fabulous.
Absolutely. I may take the top off the Bronco this weekend.
Woo!
It's supposed to be in the 80s, which, I mean, that's like 1,000 degrees here in Chicago.
I'm going to be tanning. Yeah. I mean, this is getting better and better.
Absolutely. Let's go. But huge shout out to all the moms out there. Hope you had a phenomenal Mother's Day. Also this past week, we told the girls about Paris.
We did, and it went so well. I know you were getting me all prepared for my idea not to work, just so I wouldn't, have my hopes and dreams shattered if the balloons didn't float magically out of the box, but they did. And it was so cute. They were so confused at first. Like they understood Paris right away because the balloons had the Eiffel Tower. Yep. So I don't remember which kid connected the dots first, but they were like, wait, are we going to Paris? And we nodded yes. But then they could not understand the tie-in with all of the mouse ears and all of a sudden they're like, wait, we're going to Disney. We're going to Disney and Paris. Like they were so confused. And then we started explaining it. And it was really cute. The next morning when it sunk in, they woke up and the first thing they said was, Mommy, how do they talk in Paris? And I'm like, well, they speak French. And they started asking a bunch of follow-up questions. We got them a little pop-up book with all the different monuments. And so it was really cute. They had clearly let it settle in and then gotten up early the next morning and kind of talked amongst each other about what to expect, which I thought that was so cute.
Yeah, absolutely. You could tell the initial reaction was a bit muted because I think it was masked with total confusion, wondering why balloons were coming at them fast and furious. But it was like you had to water it. You had to let it set in for a while. And yes, I mean, every day it's been something different. Different shows. They wanted to watch Mickey, which hasn't really been a thing for a while. So I think they're doing all their prep work for Disney and for Paris.
I think so too. They're very excited. They've started to consider their outfits. I'm very, very, I'm sure as, fellow business owners, especially wedding planner, it's like all these layers of a very type A personality. So organization, travel planning, those are all on the yes list for me. And so I've been trying to figure out how to organize their outfits and their looks. Like I'm sure you think I'm insane, but all of their looks are going to be organized. They have a lookbook.
Yes. Yes. They have a lookbook. Our 4 and 7-year-old have their own lookbook for this trip.
Their Paris fits.
I will say though, you did venture into ChatGPT this past week.
I did and that was my first time. Like I actually didn't know what to do. I'm like, is it an app? Do I get it? How do I get it? What do I do?
Install a CD or a floppy disk somewhere?
Right. Well, and luckily my team, most of them are significantly younger than me. And so they helped me as well. So I already went in knowing that the desktop version was stronger than the mobile version, which was key. But I did have it make me like a cute little cartoon of each of our girls with a beret in front of the Eiffel Tower for their lookbook covers.
Yeah. Important stuff. Someone has to do it.
Important. Someone does. It's wild that I work full time because my mind just shifts into these now I'm really struggling to get everything I have to get done because I'm sort of in this T minus however long. We're not going to disclose exactly when we're going, but it's getting close and I'm in vacation mode.
Yep. Awesome. So after that, this week we actually did our annual go and get the flowers for the house, which was, it's always fun. We've learned over the years for parents, if you get flowers for your deck or your planters or whatever in the spring, don't take your kids. It may sound like a great idea and you're going to have this awesome moment with your kids. Frankly, it's cool for about the first 6 minutes, and then all they do is complain, the bugs, the dirt, and we've just learned after being parents for 7 years that we just don't include them in the procurement of the flowers anymore.
No, that was such a disappointment because we thought outdoors, cruising the outdoor aisles of Home Depot, riding the cart or the flat cart. What do you call those?
Yeah. We'll call it flat cart.
It sounds like such a good atmosphere for kids. Like what could possibly go wrong with outdoor shopping? But a literal nightmare. Once you actually have to start planning, okay, I need 3 of these and I need 2 of those. And is this full sun, part sun? You can't focus at all. But the good news about it is it's become an annual date that we really look forward to every year, is doing our flower shopping and planting and just that whole thing. I do think they can help us plant
they
this
like
weekend.
to throw dirt on each other and then yell that they have dirt on them.
Absolutely. Last weekend, Charlotte straight up flung an entire shovel full of dirt straight into Amelia's eyes.
Yeah, that tracks. This is what they do. But fun nonetheless. Of course, typical Chicagoland, we had to move the flowers that have yet to be planted into the garage last night because it's May 8th and May 9th, and there's a frost advisory. So why wouldn't there be in May when it's supposed to be 80 in a couple days? So but we're safe. Everything made it. And I'm assuming you'll just have all those planted by today, and we'll be good to go.
Well, not today, since today's a work day, and I'm here doing your podcast as a gift. Gift. I'll definitely not have it planted today. However, my sister did tell me that it was possibly too early to plant, and I told her, no, it's not going to frost. And then she was totally right.
Well, she knows her plants and she knows her weather.
Yeah, she does. She's definitely the plant lady of the two of us.
Absolutely. All right, before we get to low-hanging fruit, our second week of our heroes and zeros of the week. Shan,
okay,
tell me your hero of the week.
I happen to be a hero.
Okay, we're starting with hero. Okay, my hero of the week is our daughter's school PTO. I'm hoping you didn't pick the same hero. Okay, so we every year, this is our first year going, our daughter's going into third grade. So we've clearly blown a lot of these things off, but there's an annual basket raffle. It's the biggest fundraiser. People donate all kinds of things. They put them into baskets. There's how many baskets do you think there were? 50 something baskets.
Easily over
right?
50.
Yeah. Massive ordeal going on over there. Well, it has historically been a complete nightmare. It's like something the parents talk about. It's disorganized. It's crowded. So we were not looking forward to it. Unfortunately, our daughter really wanted to go this year. So we said, okay, the Clemonds are going to the basket raffle. We went truly as an event planner. Presumably these moms that are in the PTO, I'm not really a PTO gal. Presumably they're not event planners. They nailed it. We halfway through, Steve and I looked at each other and we were like, this could not be going any better. And I just felt from a customer guest experience standpoint, you have all these families there with a ton of kids. It could be a complete nightmare, but it was laid out great. You walked through, you put your tickets in little bags. But then at the end, when they started calling the winners, they had a Google spreadsheet projected above the stage. One person pulled the name, read who the winner was. The other handed the other person the slip. They typed the person's name on the spreadsheet so everyone could see. Then at the back counter on the total opposite side of the gym were other parents who were obviously receiving the live updates to the Google Drive and looking at the spreadsheet, checking the winners, and you picked up your prize back there. So it wasn't like everyone was coming out of the stage. They went through all of those baskets in like 30 minutes. It was wild. And the whole thing was supposed to be, I think, 2 hours. We left 10 minutes early. They finished early. I just thought the whole thing, they really figured that out. That could have been real bad.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that having that many kids and people, and obviously it's not just the kids and the parents, it's the siblings that, like our youngest is not even a student there yet. So there's just so many people confined to that one area. And given the amount, and I mean, I've seen those at golf, at the end of golf scrambles that
nightmare
take an hour and a half just to get through 20 to 25 raffles. And it's like, this is wild. This was done so quick, so easy, so efficient. So shout out to them. That's a great hero this week.
Isn't it? And the thing is, like, if you think about the goals of a PTO, running something that efficiently will absolutely help their bottom line, because people are going to not, steer away from attending those sorts of things in the future, just knowing how well it ran. I think our PTO is hireable for outside events at this point. I mean, they should be doing these golf scrambles. I agree with you. Nailed it.
Crushed it. All right. My hero of the week is an online clothing brand called Hockerty, Hockerty. And here's why. Oftentimes, like I've done the Indochino route where you go and they actually fit you and measure and do all of the things. I came across this brand on social media, saw it. They said, we have the most accurate fit assessment, whatever. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole and see what it comes out with. So it asked me some general questions: height, weight, age, shape of shoulders, all of those types of things. And then it came back and gave me what its measurements were in inches to the 10th of a decimal point on like 10 different areas. Your shoulders, your chest,
Crazy.
your arms, your legs, your waist, all of these things. And I was like, okay. So then I'm invested in this whole process. So then I got the tape measure out, and I checked, and the first couple that I could do myself, I was like, that is spot on. Like, and there was no picture of me.
Crazy.
There was no nothing. Then you did like my weight or my chest and like my arm length. And usually those that know me, I'm a T-Rex, big head, short arms. And usually the arm length is way longer than what my arms actually are. Not the case. Within a quarter of an inch, they got the measurement correct.
Did they ask about your arm length though? Like, was that
Sleeve
a question?
length.
Oh,
Sleeve
wow.
length.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's really cool.
It was wild. I was blown away. So kudos to the Hockerty team for figuring that out, because that is wild. It obviously, Indochino is a commitment. You have to go in, you have to go get measured, you have to do all those things. This place seems to have figured out the algorithm and the science behind it. So yeah, kudos to them. That's awesome. That's my hero this week.
Very cool. Did you order
anything?
anything?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Is this like your Parisian looks?
Potentially.
Okay. I just was, because the way in which you came at me about our Parisian looks, the way you came at us about our looks made me think that you weren't planning any looks, but it seems like maybe you've been planning looks.
I don't have a lookbook.
Honestly feels like you're building a whole lookbook with custom measurements.
No, I'm not building any of that. No.
Okay.
No. Anywho.
Okay.
Okay. I do like their website. It did have the other thing I liked about it is it actually put the outfit, like different variations together in the proverbial lookbook, which I don't think often clothing retailers do at all. And yeah, I think it's they're doing a good job. All right.
Yes. Well, I can't wait to see your lookbook.
I don't have a lookbook.
Mm-hmm.
No,
you do.
No lookbook. Sorry.
You just
sorry to disappoint. All right.
All right. Are we moving on
Let's
to zero
get to
of
your
the week?
zero of the week.
0.0.
Okay. My zero is the United app, the United Airlines app. Not United. Are you mad at that
no,
too?
Well, I mean, I'm going to pause you there. We have a similar travel-themed zero of the week.
Well, it's clear what we've been doing this week. I know I just yawned. Did you get one?
Put it on the tab.
I'm really doing better. I was up to
11 last week.
Many more last Friday. Yeah, I'm doing way better. So travel theme. Yeah, you could tell what we've been doing this week, obviously, and what interactions we've been putting ourselves into. However, we're a big United family. Every time we try to veer off and do American, it's a disaster. So United is still, good in my books. However, the app just has so much more that it could bring. And I think my biggest takeaway from the app was that, man, this is costing their agents so much wasted time and energy, because had the app just worked the way it was supposed to work, I wouldn't have to call the agent. And it was something so remedial and stupid. I'm just trying to put our meals in. I'm a vegetarian, you're not. And then we have the 2 kids that need kids' meals. So I logged on. Both of our kids are entered the same way. And for some reason, it would let me select the kids' meal for one of the kids, would not let me select any meal for the other kid. Like, just all of them you cannot click on. And so I went back and forth. I tried from my computer thinking maybe it was just the, app or whatever on my phone. Nope. It just, for some reason, you can only do it for one kid. So now I'm going to have to chat or call, and literally all to just say that my kid needs a kid's meal, which also could be auto-populated. You would think if it's under the age of whatever, they need a kid's meal. Also, not the case. Total zero of the week.
Well, I have not always loved the United app as well. Not for that exact same reason. It's just every time, I mean, you and I travel enough But there are times where if I'm traveling a couple times a month, every time I open the app, I have to update it. I don't know. Every time there's just something new.
Yes.
I don't know if I don't know what they have to update that many times, but and then it still has gaps like that. So I get it. I'm with you on that. My zero of the week is also travel related, and it's no secret that the U.S. government and TSA and all of these they've been in the news quite a bit since the beginning of the year. 2025 has not been a great year for the U.S. government when it comes to travel and the TSA and all of that. We have been pre-check people for 10 years at least. We have been global entry people for the last couple of years. And although they make it easy for kids to be global entry members,
right?
In terms of cost, it's free. If your parents are global entry members, kids are included or free. So there's no cost barrier for people to do it. The barrier comes in actually scheduling the meeting that you have to confirm their identity. Now, we have a 4 and 7-year-old. So we have to then now drive to O'Hare Airport, bring both of them through the international terminal park, bring them both through the international terminal to find the offices, to sit down and tell them, these two, our kid, you've already conditionally approved them, but now that you see them, now they can be fully approved and they can get into the country with us in terms of in the global entry line. However, so that's strike number 1. Strike number 2,
right?
You cannot get an appointment to do that meeting at all for the next 60 days. It's booked no matter. I looked in Champaign at the Savoy Airport. I looked at Rockford. I looked all over the state. Not an appointment.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, Rockford is booked out until like August.
I thought you just meant it was booked at O'Hare, because I was going to say, I feel like when I initially got pre-check, which I know is different than global entry, but I feel like there were little subset offices in the suburbs that you could go to.
There's an office downtown.
Right?
There's an office downtown, also booked through July. The one at O'Hare has the most appointments. They can't even pull up the list of appointments because it's booked all the way through May 30th right now. So yeah, needless to say, we will not be doing global entry in time for the kids to be able to do this. But yeah, that is my zero of the week, is TSA and the process for global entry.
Yeah, that's great.
Let's get to our low-hanging fruit this week. Our low-hanging fruit segment this week is brought to you by Obvious Shirts. Say it with your shirt. Since 2017, Obvious Shirts has taken an outside-the-box approach in the apparel game. Make shirts the vehicle to express creativity, make a statement, or start a conversation. Obvious Shirts was originally built around the Chicago Cubs using one-liners and minimal graphics to get people engaged in conversation. It has now grown to cover all things Chicago and has grown into other major markets as well. Check them out at obviousshirts.com and use code PRESS115 for 15% off your order. That's obviousshirts.com and code PRESS115.
Low-hanging fruit. Someone's going to do it.
Our first piece of low-hanging fruit came from a The Verge article around OpenAI and Anthropic, two of the largest generative AI companies out there. They're constantly battling. Google's trying to get in there as well. They're fighting for college students, and both OpenAI and Anthropic came out this week within hours of each other announcing free access to their solutions for college students. A couple days after Google has joined in offering free until 2026. So I have a couple things to ask you about, Shan, on this topic. One, I get where they're going for. They're trying to get college students who are more likely to use a chat GPT now and continue to use it. But this is kind of that time where they're forming who they're going to be going to for the long term based on their solution. So I get that. But can you imagine having ChatGPT for your schoolwork?
No, it's freaking me out even just in the workforce right now because I find myself questioning emails from people or documents. I even got an inquiry the other day that I'm like, this is the strangest inquiry, like the just oddly worded, super specific. And I sent it to my team and they were like, "Oh, Shan, this was totally written with AI." And it's like, "Oh my gosh, you're totally right. I'm not even thinking about that." But for
Yeah.
schoolwork, I mean, are people even going to write their own papers?
So I went down the rabbit hole after seeing this article, and it is a big concern. Like it's already advanced to the point in colleges that kids are writing their research papers. And I saw actually a video of someone having ChatGPT write their 15-page term paper in about 3 minutes based on the prompts it gave it. But then they're going in and the students are going in and actually making manual typos in the document. So the software that is grading or looking at the papers is not flagging it as plagiarized or written by AI.
Wow.
I mean, wild. I mean, to think that we had our TI 89 calculators in college that you could store like a few things in it, and we thought we were getting away with things.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just absolutely wow.
I don't even know. I mean, that's going to change the landscape of everything because, these kids are going to be more skilled at trying to make it look like it's not AI than the other way around. That's really strange.
But I also it is the tools that we have. And, you and I have we've laughed about our kids and the new way they're doing math and everything. And and it's like, well, I got to the same answer probably 10 minutes before you did.
Right.
So no one's wrong in the situation, but there are ways to be more efficient, right?
Totally. Yeah, that's going to be extremely strange. But I do understand why these companies are offering the free solution to college kids. I mean, they want to be the go-to. They want to be, I even feel like at some point that was happening to a different degree. But when Google wanted to be the biggest search engine and it was like Yahoo and all these other search engines, it's a thing. I've also seen, we watch Shark Tank. We're big Shark Tank people. They're constantly advertising is Google's Gemini.
Yep.
And so they're always like, Mark's always plugging it. They're always plugging it. They already offer free AI solutions to all of the Shark Tank businesses. And so there's these, but the subset of college kids is so much larger than Shark Tank businesses. It's a no-brainer.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a land grab right now for those companies that are doing it.
Totally.
The fact that the two major companies came out literally within an hour of each other with those announcements is wild. All right, that does it for our first piece of low-hanging fruit. The second piece of low-hanging fruit this week,
speaking of low-hanging fruit,
is an article I found that is a massive pet peeve of mine. And you know this. We've talked about this.
Yes.
And I felt it very fitting that we have a close friend as our guest on the podcast this week, David, coming up. And another close friend of ours uses the thumbs up emoji a lot.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's going to be thrilled that we're talking about it here. I'm not going to mention
his name, but he uses the thumbs up emoji a lot. But this article in the Times was around the use of the thumbs up emoji and how it is ultimately discontinuing the phrase "thank you" as part of our day-to-day vernacular. And my biggest issue of the thumbs up is it's lazy, it's a cop-out, it shows no humanization of peace. This is my old man get off my lawn moment.
It really is.
But my blood boils when someone gives me the thumbs up, especially if I've put any thought into the text message.
Right. No, I know. Because it's like, you don't know if I understand what you're saying with replacing thank you, but for me, I don't really use it ever. But I want to know, are you saying yes? Are you saying great? Are you saying got it, but you're annoyed. Are you, you just, there's no inflection at all. You don't know. I read it always as like, got it. It's like, can you grab, an extra thing of whatever from the grocery store? Thumbs up means like, I am acknowledging that I saw your text. I feel like it's that, and it's an acknowledgement. And then you have to go back and then also reply. It's like, I saw it. We're good. Maybe I'm on a call, but then later it's like, hey, I did get your message.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So the article goes into talking about how kids now, younger people, are actually becoming fearful of actually saying thank you, and that they're trying to, in essence, it's leaving their day-to-day kind of their day-to-day, because they would even rather type in a text message TYSM than say thank you.
Interesting.
And again, I just think that's wild. It's, to me, it's very dismissive. And now I know that a lot of our friends, every time I say something to them, they're probably going to hit me back with the thumbs up. We were just having this conversation with Anthony a couple weeks ago.
Right. But they were talking about, I don't know if the thumbs up bothers them quite as much, but we were talking about K is another problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't like, K is, again, like, is it okay exclamation point? Is it okay, I'm super annoyed? Is it, I don't like that either. I think K is just as dismissive as the thumbs up, but we are really showing our age right now. Like, it is annoying, but I think we're complaining.
No, we're not complaining. It takes just as long to type out thank you or got it or see you later as to hit the little thing, hold it, and go up and hit the thumb.
Yes. I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that we're complaining.
I will die on that bridge.
That's fine.
I will. So that's it. That's my complaint. Don't hit me or Shannon with the thumbs up, because we are going to defriend you. All of the above. No, we won't do that. But you know what I mean.
We're not having it. We're not having it.
Awesome. Well, Shan, that's it. This week's opening. I'm going to get to David here in just a few minutes. But thanks for jumping on this week. And I hope you had a great Mother's Day, or have a great Mother's Day.
Thank you. Have fun with David.
All right. Sounds good.
There's your low-hanging fruit.
Our Press One interview this week is brought to you by Rise, your trusted partner in navigating traditional technology and adopting next-generation solutions. With expert thought leadership, they're committed to reducing costs, maximizing investments, and being a time multiplier for their clients. Discover how they can elevate your tech strategy at risetechadvisors.com. Give Eric and Ed a call. You will not regret it. All right, let's get to this week's Press One guest. Our guest today is a close friend, a confidant, a godparent to our youngest daughter, and he's just not only a supremely talented in all the things he does, and frankly, he's done a lot in his career, in his life. He's just one of the best human beings I have ever had the privilege of knowing, let alone having the honor of being a close friend with him. So let's go and get to this interview. I'm excited. And let's press one for David Schuringa. David, welcome into the Press One podcast.
Well,
thanks
hi.
so much for joining me today.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. This is going to be fun.
Yeah,
David,
I'm excited.
Not only close friend, godparent to our youngest daughter. You know, you're the perfect guest to have on the podcast.
Aw, yeah, Steve, you and I are like this, and you're over here, I'm over here.
Wow. All right. So I know we're going to have fun regardless, but let's start with two truths and a lie. And let me see if I can guess. I know you well. We're going to find out. So give me two truths and a lie, and I'm going to see if I can figure out what the lie is.
I didn't pre-think these, but let me think.
Okay.
Two truths and a lie. Okay. I worked for a doctor.
Okay.
I went to medical school. And I jumped off the tower in Las Vegas.
Oof. Okay, I think you did work for a doctor.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Now I'm next to the next two. I'm going to say that you did jump off the tower in Las Vegas and you did not go to medical school. You have a psychology degree. What?
When I was working for the doctor, I went to medical school with her. So I didn't physically subscribe to it, or actually go to school. But I interpreted for her in her school, and when she went to medical school. So, and then I went through all 4 years of her residency with her.
Got it. So you did not jump off the tower.
No, are you kidding?
Well,
No,
I didn't think that you would, but I also you got me with a technicality on the medical school piece.
I know. I was trying.
Yeah, you got me. You win. All right. Perfect. Well, David, take me through David, not Dave, because we'll end the conversation really quickly.
Yeah. I'll hit that button.
Tell me your story, the life of many careers that's led you to retirement and ultimately another career, but all involve working very closely with people. Tell me all about your story.
Well, let's see. When I first started, I am a man of many, many jobs, but the main jobs that I had throughout my major careers were three of them. One was I was an interpreter for the deaf. I did that for quite a few years. Prior to that, I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. But as I became an interpreter for, it was kind of hit and miss, right? So you would have a job one day, you're self-employed, you would have a job the next day, then you wouldn't have something for a couple of days, and it really wasn't very sustainable. So I ended up starting a job at AT&T, which I had never dreamed of doing, never had any desire to work for a telecommunications company. I ended up working with them for nearly 30 years and retired from them about 4 years ago. And had a career of basically cybersecurity, both on the, let's say, customer-facing side when we talk about wireless phones, things like that.
Absolutely.
But then it got into software delivery for the majority of my career. So I was a leader, I was a director at the company for about 15 years, working in cybersecurity software development. Yeah. And now in my retirement, I'm doing real estate. So I'm a realtor.
Retirement number one.
Retirement number one. Well, this is my only one.
But he's still out there doing something different. So yeah. I guess let's go back to that. You mentioned the psychology degree, right? First of all, are you happy that you got a psychology degree? That's my first question. And then ultimately, what made you choose psychology really as a field of study?
I chose psychology because I've always been just fascinated with people. And, I first attempted to go into music, decided that wasn't the most, revenue inducing type of career for me. Still doing it on the side, but, but psychology was just something that I was really, really good at. It was something that was kind of innate to me. I felt like I really was able to understand people even before I went into psychology. And whether people want to call that, I really don't like this term, but empath. I tend to connect very well with people and understand,
I would agree.
in a sense, what they're going through. Thank you. And it's not necessarily what they're going through, but I can tap into those emotions. And so that kind of drew me into psychology. And then I'm very, very grateful in my entire life that I got my degree in psychology. And I would recommend that anybody out there that's going for any career also tap into a psychology, whether it be a minor or even a double major, because psychology has the strength to allow you to learn and understand more about people, which you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your life. So I learned ways to communicate to the stubborn client or the overbearing boss or all of those things. You learn what those tools are to develop in working relationships.
Absolutely. I mean, everyone, I always say college is not about the books and things like that you go through. it's about interacting with people. It's about how you communicate. And I could absolutely see where that's obviously a critical piece in every line of work that you've been in, directly working with people. Do you feel that degree still influences how you interact with people or make decisions for you today?
Oh, absolutely. Even in my friendships and in my career, it's so important for me as somebody who just connects with people so well that I understand a person and what they're going through. Not necessarily what they're going through. Let me correct that. It really is more about just relating to a person, maybe understanding and asking the right questions. There's so much complexity to psychology. I'm sure you know that. And it's just learning what's the best way to put this? Getting a better understanding of the human behavior and why people act in certain ways is so important, because you could talk to Joe down the street who is being a total jerk. Well, what did they just go through? There's a whole life behind that we know nothing about. So it makes me rethink some of the things that I think a lot of people don't,
Yeah. And I think you and I are very similar in that we analyze a lot of how other people are what they're thinking, and potentially not just what their perception is of us in the scenario that we're in, but also how to navigate that conversation or that friendship or that business relationship or whatever the case may be. I think you and I are similar in that manner, in that that's just kind of how we communicate with folks.
Very much. Very much. Yeah. You have that sense too, that a simple expression can make you start thinking about something. I know that about you, and I do the same thing. Somebody could just, turn away for a second, and I'm like, wait, what was that about? And it's my, people pleasing thing too, so
yeah, absolutely.
Or is it my ADHD, Steve? I'm not sure which one.
I love it. All right. So you shifted from being an interpreter, which I think is just such an amazing line of work, but I get what you're saying is that there's the continuity of being a self-employed contractor almost for that. But then you got into the project management world, right? And in the technology space, which I think is critical, which is awesome. It's obviously what I'm in kind of the day-to-day. How is your experience with project management ultimately kind of shaped the way you approach your everyday life now that you're in real estate, you're retired, and all of that?
Yeah. So the first thing that I think that I would say about that is I had absolutely no experience in software development when I got into it. So I started in project management, became, a leader in software development. I became a leader in the development organization, and then shifted back over to the software development processing side. And so the first thing that I would want to say is that for people that are out there that are interested in getting to software development, even if you don't have a degree, you can be successful in the software development space. You can learn the nomenclature, learn the words that people are using, learn the processes. It is not a barrier to not have a degree to get into software development. Now, like I said, most of my career was really surrounding project management, and something I'm very happy that I've learned. And it's not only structured my work life, but it's also structured my personal life. It's everything. The definition of a project in and of itself is it's an effort that has a defined start and a defined end. Yeah. Well, if we think about everything in our life, everything has a start and end. This, doing the dishes downstairs, or planning a trip to Paris, there's a defined start and end. And there's a lot of things that have to happen within that in order for it to be successful. Thinking about in the software development space, it's talking to your client and understanding their needs, writing that into requirements, getting that development done or getting that work done, and then kind of, let's call it testing. And testing kind of going, hey, well, if we do this, what happens if, let's say on a trip that somebody doesn't like this? Well, then we can go here. There's an alternate, and that's risk management inside of project management. And then, of course, there's the end of the project. So pretty much everything that I do, and you know me well, Steve, I am a planner. People always say that planners are very organized people. Well, if you saw my desk right now, you would not think that I'm a very organized person. But I have a folder for it. It's just my whole life has turned into the recognition that everything's a project and everything needs some level of structure and, most importantly, planning. Not everything. Not everything.
Got it.
You just say, take that back.
Yep. Got it. Check. I guess, so I live with a planner.
Yeah.
Career, her desk is way more organized than mine. That's where you and I differ. And that's what makes the world go around, right? But I guess, and maybe selfishly, I'm asking this question for me, so I can take some lessons from you. But what's one principle from professional project management that you wish more people really applied to their personal goals? And I'm going to take notes as you talk.
I think out of everything, and strangely in the software development world, this is infrequently used. And I think it's absolutely critical, which is risk management. In the project lifecycle in software development, basically what we do is we do the requirements, we build it, and then we test it. Mm-hmm. What we should be doing, and the testing will come up with a myriad of defects, a myriad of issues that come up, whether it's from your group's testing or your client testing. But if earlier on you had done some risk management and had said, well, what happens if we do this type of coding and it's going this direction, we would have resolved many of those defects later down the road. We can apply that to our everyday lives, which is, hey, if I'm thinking about going to, I'm thinking about going to Target across the street. Well, you get to Target and suddenly there's been a fire. You can't go there. Well, where am I going to go? Sure, you could think of that immediately, but you have to, you already know that Jewel is down the street or Tony's food market is over here. So you, having some, that's a very simplistic approach, but, talk about, trips, like a beautiful trip that you're planning. Yeah. What if something happens?
That Shannon's planning.
That's true. Very good point.
I'm just carrying the heavy things.
So it's really just about what if something happened, what would we do? It's risk management, and just kind of keeping that always in the back of your head in case something does go wrong.
Absolutely.
Or right.
Yeah, and there is that kind of. Ultimately, life is a series of choices, and it's going to lead you down path A, path B.
Yeah,
and you don't always know what's down path A or path B, right?
Very true.
At a more global level of decision making. But yes, I always think, and you just kind of refer to this yourself, is that there is that planning that goes in, but there's also kind of the what if this doesn't work, or what if this happens? Can we pivot and can we go down, make a path C? And I think that's, the sooner you can do that. And that's probably where I'm always just the person that's like, it's going to be okay. No matter what, we're going to get to the right conclusion or the right ending. Yeah. And you, my wife, are more like, well, let's think about if that doesn't work, so I think that there's a blending that I could probably do better of, frankly, in the project management of life.
Well, so could my husband, so I get it. Don't tell him I said that. He's not going to watch this, is he?
Well, who knows?
Is he here?
I don't know. Is he?
No.
Well, and that's gosh, you just gave me the perfect segue in to a conversation that is certainly more personal for you, but and I want to preface this question by. You are a gay man that has been in the, I know, in IT, telecom, software, real estate now, but I've always just looked at you as a wonderful friend, a confidant to myself, my wife, and not just, and as a person that just happens to be gay, right? And I think the world needs more of that, in understanding that you put your pants on the same way that I do, 2 legs at a time, and that you're just an awesome human being that happens to be gay. And so I guess ultimately, I guess, would you have found so far real estate to be more inclusive or just different than your world in the software space? How has that transition been as you've transitioned parts of your career?
I think really good question. I people are people, right? And regardless of where you're going to encounter the same amount of people that have an issue with it.
Of course.
And did I find more of it in the technology space? It's very in the technology space. It's very male dominated. Mm-hmm. In the real estate world, it's very female dominated. Dominated. So I found maybe a little bit less in real estate, but there still is a bit. Not nearly as much as when I first started in my, AT&T career, my interpreting career. But what I've just kind of learned over the years is, you just have to. I remember back when I first started with AT&T, back then it was called Ameritech, but I would never be talking about my husband or my boyfriend, or I would never talk about Ray as my partner. Yeah. And that was only because of the environment that we were in. We were in the late 80s, early 90s, and it was scary for people like me to talk about our partners in our life. And people always call it, still today, people say, well, why do you always talk about your sexuality? I'm not talking about my sexuality. I'm talking about my husband.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand what this is. I'm not talking about our bedroom activities. I'm talking about my husband. And so that happens both in the technology space and still happens in real estate. So don't get me wrong, Steve, you know very well that we've made such great progress. We really have. And so I really feel that, that part of my life, I'm feeling much more comfortable today than I ever have in my life. In my career. So, it's become almost a non-issue, but I still, because of my age, I always have my defenses up, and we've learned that we have to do that. Yeah.
Understandable. And I feel awful that that's the case, but I completely understand and sympathize with where you've come from. And what's led you to where you're at today. But I am happy that you can walk around and feel more comfortable in your day to day. That's progress, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
I guess what advice would you give to the LGBTQ plus professionals just starting in tech or real estate or starting out their career? How would you, and I know it's a different environment than when you started in your career, but I guess what advice would you give to those folks?
Well, because I'm so old, Steve, that's why it's a different
You're not
world.
as old as some of our friends.
That's true. We do have a really old friend, but
we don't talk about him on the podcast. He knows who he is.
Yeah, he does. What I would say is, and this is so cliche, but be your authentic self and continue to be your authentic self regardless of the work environment that you're in. And if you feel like the company that you're working for is pushing you against that, you need to find a new company because that company doesn't deserve you. So I was on and I am on defense my entire life. I am, with pretty much every single day. And it's just, that was burrowed into me in my life because of the period of time I went through. Most people that are going into their careers now didn't have that experience. At least I hope they didn't. So be your authentic self and don't let the company tell you who you are.
I love that. I think you're 100% right. You have to be you no matter what, no matter where you're coming from, and being proactively you, and just letting people know, letting people into your world, whether you're gay, straight, whatever, letting people know who you are, I think is a significant step in just being comfortable in your surroundings. So
absolutely,
I think that's a great piece of advice. The Press One podcast is brought to you each week by Palm & Oak Co. Thoughtfully curated destination rental homes rooted in the details. Just in time for summer travel, Palm & Oak Properties put their guest experience first, giving you a 5-star experience with all of the comfort and convenience of home. Perfect for families, their first property just launched in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and is booking quickly. Head over to Instagram at Stay Palm & Oak Co. for more information or to book your next vacation. I want to shift gears a little bit. You're retired. You sit at home all day. You don't do anything. No, that's a complete lie. But you are retired from your main career. You've picked up real estate over the over the last couple of years. I guess thinking of retirement planning, because retirement, I mean, you're not old by any stretch of the imagination, and you're retired, which is kudos to you. But when did you start seriously thinking about retirement planning, and what kind of initiated that whole process for you?
When we were in, I come from a very European family. So my father, his parents came from Holland. My mother came from Lithuania. My mother's family came from Lithuania. So there was always a very conservative mindset when it came to many aspects of our lives. Most importantly, money. And, it was always kind of burrowed into my head early on that save. And when I would talk to my parents about 401ks and talk to them about financial planning, my parents never had real financial planning, but they saved and they knew how to do things at certain times. At one point in my life, when Ray and I had gotten together, we had a friend that was a financial planner. I didn't know what financial planners did. I know nothing about financial planning. I know nothing about the stock market. I know nothing about money markets or CDs. Know very, very little. And I realized that both my husband and I have, and still do have, a level of a gap of understanding of what all of that entails.
Of course.
And so that friend just kind of introduced us to what financial planning was and how it could benefit us in retirement. And we started very early on in our mid-20s. And I mean, we literally went in, Steve, with basically like maybe $6,000 in the bank. And, we were really living paycheck to paycheck every single week. It was really embarrassing to us. The reality is that's how most people start their financial planning. And that's how you grow. And so, there's kind of two different options. You put money into savings that just kind of sits there for 30 years and does nothing, or you invest, and you invest through a financial planner or in the real estate world. In the real estate world, for gosh sakes, I think we hit 15 to 17% growth in the last 4 years on everyone's properties. Well, you can't get that in the market. And that's per year.
Right.
So, so that's, I just recommend that people just talk to financial planners. There's so many of them out there. I won't even mention names. But it's so important to get started in your 20s or in 30s. I hear people that are my age or older than me that have never done anything in the stock market, have nothing in real estate. And they're like, well, I can't retire until maybe I'm 70, 75. You've got to think about that ahead of time. Again, project management, risk management, planning.
Yep.
It's all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think so? We live in such a fast-paced world. Everyone's got their phones. Everything happens so quickly now. You in real estate, in project management, things move quickly. In my world, it seems like every day just is a blur. But do you think people that are in those types of fast-paced careers, or just get caught up in life today, they delay planning, more than they should, or what is causing that?
I really think that it is the lack of understanding. I don't think that there was, at least, when I went to school, I'm not sure about when you went to school. You're a few years younger than me. There was not a lot of education as it related to how we plan our money and, financially how that's all managed. So I think it's a lack of understanding and education on how to plan and what different things, just the many aspects of financial planning and what that involves. So I really think it's education. And people are always uncomfortable talking about money, because it's not a thing you talk to friends about. And when you do, it's like you're skirting the issue. You don't want to talk about, certain things. And you have to talk about it because that's the only way you're going to learn.
I do. You're right. And even, going to school, more recently than you, still is not something that is talked about. The financial literacy side of things. So I think you come out, and oftentimes students come out with a whole ton of debt, and you're paying for an apartment, you're paying for student loans, all of those things, and it just kind of keeps piling on top of each other. So yeah, I think starting sooner, that's great advice. All right. I'm done with all of the serious questions. We got to peel back the onion here. You knew a lot of the questions today. You did not know this was coming. You did not know that Shannon has inserted some circle back questions to surprise you with, because in the very first episode of this podcast, you surprised Shannon with a couple of questions. So
yes, I did.
This is her return of the favor.
Ooh.
Are you ready for this week's circle back questions? No. All right. She kept it above the belt, which is good. Good. She gave you 2 questions.
Okay.
If you could do any profession for one day just to see what it's like, what would you choose?
I don't think this is going to surprise anybody who knows me, is I would be on Broadway. I would be doing something on stage. It's singing just brings so much joy to me, and you will never know the feeling of an audience, when you're in it, what it's like to be on stage. Steve, I've been in a few shows. That feeling of walking out and getting your applause, it is so incredibly validating. You don't get that at work. You don't get that when you're a doctor. You don't get that when you're an attorney. They don't all applaud in the courtroom when you're done. Yep. That's an incredible, incredible feeling. So if I was to do anything, and I don't regret anything I've done in my life, but if I was to do anything in a next life, I would definitely go to school for music and do that.
So what Broadway performance, if you had one day, one show to be in, I'm going to take that question further that Shannon provided.
Yeah.
What would it be?
God, there's so many good ones. That's really, really hard.
You can't do multiple.
One day I would have to say, and I had the opportunity to do this just a couple of years ago, and I chickened out and going for the audition, which was Wicked. I would love to do Wicked. I really would. And regardless of the role, whether or not I was in chorus, whether or not I was, one of the other characters, I would love to do Wicked.
Awesome.
That would be my choice. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Second question from Shannon. If you could go back 20 years, what is the one piece of wisdom you would tell your younger self?
Jerk. These are always emotionally provoking. I've heard this question many, many times asked to people, and I'm like, what would I say? And I think my answer, very emotionally, strangely enough, is don't be so afraid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're getting me tear up. You're such a jerk.
Hey, it wasn't me this time. It was Shannon that asked the
blame
question,
Shannon.
so you can be mad at her. I'm just the facilitator of the cries.
Yeah.
No, I knowing you, I wish that for you.
Thank you.
Every day. And I know that is the perfect answer for you. All right. Well, thanks for Shannon for sending in the circle back
Shannon.
questions this week. I have one mailbag question for you. You can see the difference in my beautiful wife's brain that is very advanced and very fulfilled. And then the question that I came up with for you out of the mailbag. Again, think of this as what you want. If you could talk to any animal, which one would you choose and what would you ask them?
Oh my God, such an easy question for me. An elephant.
An elephant. Okay,
oh my gosh.
that way.
There's, and here's the reason. No, it's not a cat. It's not a dog. Elephants just fascinate me, in their ability to relate so closely to each other. They have such and many animals do, but elephants, I think, exhibit this just much more than many other animals. They have such a very tight family structure. They have the matriarch. They have just this incredible ability to communicate with each other. I've seen so many, and I'm sure everyone has, but, you see things where a baby elephant is running it all happy and, kind of falls over. All of the other elephants are coming over to save, to protect this little elephant. And it's just such a beautiful thing to see. You don't see that a lot in nature. You don't see that a lot in our human lives either. But, we will just point and laugh and say, look, Joey fell.
Yeah. Once at least for me, it's once I realize the person's okay, especially a fall on ice. Those are wicked. Those are just brutal. So once I realize the person's okay, it is a little funny. You have to admit. Yeah,
it is. It is. That's absolutely true. But that's something you would do, Steve.
Well, yes, especially if it was Joey. Awesome. No, I love that question. I didn't know that you were such the elephant aficionado and caretaker of all the elephants.
No, I don't want to say aficionado or caretaker, but I just have it's the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about just incredible animals. Yeah.
I love it.
Good question.
David, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Steve.
I'm gonna send us out here. This wraps up our episode of the Press One podcast. Of course, I knew that David would not just be an awesome guest because he's such a close friend, confidant in all the above, but just great answers, thoughtful answers, fun answers as we got into things today. So thank you for that, David. I want to thank my executive producer, the one and only Rick Camp, and our sponsors, Rise Technology Advisors, Palm & Oak Co., and Obvious Shirts. Once again, please follow us on all of our socials and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page so you can see David talking about elephants, his career as a project manager, and all of the fun things that he's done in his life. And you can see the full-length content coming out each and every week. Thanks so much. Remember to make every experience a memorable one. Make it a great day.